Hey guys, it's Fred. Good morning to you. Guys, I've got another video I'm going to do. This one is also going to be on the TBI and Mr. Davison's press conference that they held concerning Buford Pusser. Before I start going over some of these statements and some of this material, I just want to say, everybody's had time now to let this rumor, to let this news conference, to let all this Buford Pusser stuff set in. We've all had time to think about it, especially those that were and have been fans of Buford Pusser for years and years, and were probably more shocked. My shock didn't come from Buford Pusser. My shock as a former police officer came when I seen the conduct and the wording of the prosecutor and of the TBI director. That was my shock. To most people that looked at it, I'm sure it was, if they were Buford Pusser and Pusser family fans, that's what was upsetting to them. To me, and from talking to other police officers, retired and active, and from talking to attorneys, some that I have known for years and some I've never met, from talking to them, their concern, their motivation in speaking out or making comments is from the fact that you could tell from the statements that the reporters were being misled, that the speeches were misleading, the wording was misleading. Now, to most, misleading wouldn't be a big word for a news conference of somebody just talking about a corporation or a firm or politics especially. But when it comes down to a chief law enforcement officer, the director, the head man, the top cop of the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, when it comes down to him, and when it comes down to the top prosecutor in that district, the top prosecutor, and he's doing the same thing. It's to a career law enforcement officer, to many of us, to legal scholars, to that press conference will be studied for years and years and years to come. All these people that's down on Mike Elam and Oakley Baldwin, rightly so, I understand. And guys, while I'm on here, let me say, on Sheila's page, Hatfield McCoy Museum Adventures, and on my page, on my channel, Fred McCoy 40, if you would, please refrain from any threats, any non-Christian-like comments. I don't care for you correcting. That's what I do. It's okay to correct somebody when they're not truthful. It's okay to stand up for somebody when they're the underdog, when they've been mistreated, misjudged, slandered. It's okay. But we don't have to be like them. Let's correct them, not be like them. I'm going to start off with this. Mr. Davison's evidence is that the gun recently provided to them is consistent with the gun that killed Pauline. Guys, he said in his news conference, that was his words. Now, this, if you'll go to Google and you'll copy the news conference off verbatim, it'll tell you every word. It doubles up on the words, triples up. When they have stuttering problems, when they get nervous and you see them stutter and they say the same thing over and over and over again, it will print that out for you. I have gone through and cut all that out. So I'm going to read the statement just like it should have been said or read. But because they were so nervous, there was a lot of there was a lot of ands, and if you'll look, and so forth. There was a lot of those. Well, so I have cut all that out. So this is going to be a cleanly written to go over. But this is going to be verbatim their words, Mr. Davison's and Mr. Roush's. This is their words. Now, I didn't go over all of it. This is not going to be the complete press conference that they held, but this is going to be the gist of it. And just from this right here, and I'll get to the rest of it eventually, but just look at this and listen and see. That's why I didn't want to do a video. This is more or less just sit there and look at Buford and just wonder if this was you they were talking about, or a member of your family, how you would feel. Imagine how Dewana, if she was still alive, would feel. Davison's evidence is that the gun recently provided to them is consistent with the gun that killed Pauline. That's what he said. How consistent? That's my question, guys. How consistent is this? See, it's easy to say something's consistent because, you know, I'm consistent with Mr. Davison because we're both human beings and we're both breathing oxygen to live. We're consistent with each other in that fact. And that's what, this is such a general comment that it can relate to anything. How consistent is that gun? Is it the same gun? Is this the gun that killed Pauline Pusser? No. No, if it was the same gun that killed Pauline Pusser, Mr. Davison and Mr. Roush would have told you that day, this is the gun. We have the murder weapon. They didn't say that. Mr. Davison and Mr. Roush says this gun is consistent with the weapon that killed Pauline Pusser. Consistent. Is it the same caliber? Uses the same size bullet? Oh, okay. Same gun as being an M1 or any gun that shoots a 30 caliber round. Is it the same gun as any black barreled gun with a brown stock, maybe with a sling on it or not? See, guys, consistent with something doesn't make it the original, doesn't make it the same. It makes it consistent. And I've got here to see the article, but I forgot to bring that article, but I have posted it on many of our videos. And it's where Mr. Roush tells the newspaper, tells an interviewer, they ask if this was the gun. And he said, well, it's consistent with the gun that was used. It's inconclusive at this time. It's inconclusive, but it's consistent. Being consistent with something and being the weapon is two different things. So we've already started off in our first sentence. We've already started off trying to be evasive or point you in a different direction. This is not, the gun that was recovered, the stolen gun that was recovered by two gentlemen and turned in, that was stolen. The gun that had been stolen for over 60 some years from the United States military that they had taken out and shot, collected evidence from to do God knows what with those empty casings or bullets. Only the good Lord knows what was the intention of those guys for keeping the empty casings that matched up to the markings that would be on the ejector of that gun, that would match up completely, be an exact match to that gun. The bullets that was fired into whatever that could be thrown out on the side of the road that would match up with that gun. It's inconceivable what those casings and those bullets could be used for in the future as providing evidence that that gun is the gun that was at the scene of the ambush. That gun is now tarnished. That gun could never, ever, ever be used as evidence in this case. First of all, it's not the right gun anyway. Mike Elam says the gun was locked away in the trunk of a car, locked away inside of a Chevrolet garage, a dealership. That's where that gun was. But I can tell you for a fact that gun could never be used in a court of law as evidence in this case. It's been damaged. It's been tainted, tarnished, because somebody else other than law enforcement has taken that gun out, fired it, collected evidence from it. And how do we know that there's some of those empty shell casings or bullets that's not already been thrown out beside of the road? How do we know some of those casings are empty casings or bullets have not already been added to the evidence that Mr. Davison and Mr. Rouse says they have collected? It's tarnished. Guys, a good defense attorney or attorneys could tear this case apart. This is the most unjust thing I've ever seen, probably. And I have seen some unjust things in my day and in my 40-year career as a police officer. Davison, as far as your first question, now Mr. Davison is answering a reporter's question. As far as your first question, is the file going to say that he staged it? Mr. Davison is repeating the reporter's question. As far as your first question, is the file going to say that he staged it? He's referring to Buford. And he continues, I gave you some of the evidence. One expert who said that it appeared to be staged. Now, guys, let's break it down. Let's look at this one sentence here. I gave you some of the evidence. One expert who said that it appeared to be staged. Look at those words, one expert, and appeared. He says that one person, not 2, not 15, not 25, one person. Can you imagine being judged by one person in your life investigates something, and only that one person and nobody else has the capability or the privilege to go relook at what you've seen, to investigate before you go make an allegation against somebody that only one person has alleged, and it's alleged. He has no proof. And it only appeared. What's that mean, guys? And it appeared to be staged. Appeared. We're convicting a man. We're running a person's reputation on appeared and on one person's opinion. Keep on listening, guys. It's really sad. It's so sad that, again, if we can figure it out, anybody can. And I'm sure there's more than us that have. I know there are, because, again, we've talked to college professors. We've talked to of law schools, many lawyers, many attorneys. We've not talked to the first attorney. Not that there are not out there, because we know there's two sides to every story, but we haven't found none. None of them's contacted us. We've not found the first attorney that agrees with what Mr. Davison done as an attorney, either prosecutor or defense attorney. It's just not there. And Mr. Davison continues, quote, that's probably as close as you're going to get in the file. He answers the reporter. And that's probably as close as you're going to get. Probably as close. Since when do we prosecute or persecute on as close as we get? Where's the evidence? Where's the evidence? Where's the proof? Beyond a reasonable doubt. That's probably as close as you're going to get. Read that file, and what it says in that file is probably about as close as you're going to get of any proof that we have that Buford Pusser done anything wrong. He says the file is not going to give you a "he did it" and "this is exactly how it happened" summary. That's Mr. Davison's. That's an attorney. That's a prosecutor's words. This file, quote, is not going to give you a "he did it" and "this is exactly how it happened" summary. That's what he's saying, guys. It's not going to give you "he did it." Nobody's going to stand there and say for a fact, "he did it, and this is exactly how it happened." If you can't do that at a news conference, do you think you could do that under oath at a trial? See, Mr. Davison and Mr. Roush is at a press conference. They're not under oath. They're not swearing everything they're saying is the truth, and they're even trying to talk in mumbo jumbo now. They're still trying to talk in circles. They don't want to lie. You can tell that they don't want to come out and perjure or say something that would, under oath, they would have to answer yes or no. No, this didn't happen, that didn't happen. They're answering, you just gave the entire country a "he did it." Now, he tells that reporter there that he cannot say, the file's not going to give you a "he did it" as a fact. He can't say for a fact, "he did it." But he just stood there on that stage and he told the entire country that Buford Pusser murdered his wife. He can't tell the jury how it happened. He can't tell nobody how exactly how it happened. I'm going back and forth, guys, on the sentence here. I'm going back on his statement. I don't want to say anything wrong. I'm over the shock. I'm over the shock of Mr. Davison and Mr. Roush. I'm saddened, as I'm sure many are. I'm saddened that a chief prosecutor and a chief law enforcement officer, over a little bit of fame, over a little bit of attention, and that's my opinion, guys. I'll go ahead and I'll say that's my opinion, but I think it's probably as close to fact as what we're ever going to get. Over a little bit of attention in their name recognition is what they said this for, and held a press conference and defamed a man that had never been convicted of a crime in his life. He's never been convicted of a crime, of anything, and they're going to defame him and tarnish his reputation forevermore. Evermore. It's never going away. This rumor, this allegation, this fact, they said he murdered his wife. There's going to be evidence. This is Mr. Davison. This is out of his statement, guys, word for word. There's going to be evidence, statements, analysis from different experts from different fields. See, he's redirecting. He's telling these reporters at that news conference, there's going to be evidence, okay? There's going to be statements, analysis from different experts from different fields. Guys, in 1967, there was evidence of an ambush. There was bullets, there was a car, there was blood, there was statements. P.D. Plump wrote a statement that he found Buford's jawbone out in a field. Miss, I forget her name, Miss Mammy something, the older lady, said that she run up on a car that had been all shot up, bullet holes everywhere. And she pulled up beside of it, and the guy's chin was hanging down to his chest. And she said, I can't help you, but I'll go get you some help. That's what she said. Said she was shaking like a leaf. Said the man's whole bottom of his face was gone. He says there's going to be some analysts from different experts in different fields. Different experts in different fields was the FBI in this investigation, because the FBI was in the first investigation. The FBI assisted in the first investigation. It's even been said that the FBI still has evidence today that was never returned back then, that it was never returned after they analyzed it, because there was no match, nothing to compare it to. It was just stored away. How could they investigate a crime in 2025 without asking the FBI for evidence from 1967? How could they do that? But see, to my knowledge, guys, I could be wrong on anything. Anything I say, please check me out and see if I say anything that's not correct or incorrect, correct me. I do not mind. We're after the truth. But did they not contact the FBI for any bullets or casings or anything at all from back in that day, because they were afraid that if they told the FBI what they were working on, that they might want to join in, that they might want to help investigate? Now, the FBI may not be, I don't know, under Comey and McCabe and Ray. I don't know, they probably went right along with it. That should have been the group to go. But nowadays, I don't think they would go along with it as easily. And they might have really wanted to see evidence before they held a press conference. So I doubt that the FBI and the ATF was notified whatsoever. I doubt that any evidence that was collected by the FBI back in 1967 was even looked at. Why wasn't the ATF called in? Why wasn't the FBI? The most equipped organizations in our federal government as far as investigative skills and technology, and you didn't ask them to help with the biggest investigation, Buford Pusser's wife's death, and they're not even asked to assist? Guys, that's what you call a clue in police work. That's a clue. They didn't want to share the glory with the FBI. They didn't want to share the glory with the ATF. These two gentlemen are somewhat like Mr. Buford Pusser. They wanted the glory for themselves. They wanted, and they didn't want to try to, or didn't feel like they could get anyone to go along with their analogy here at the end. Maybe they felt that they couldn't get, so they went out here and got a couple of, I don't want to mislabel people, so I'd like to know who these people are. The next thing we need to do is people needs to start investigating these people who they say are experts. Let's look at their expert qualifications. Let's look at their credentials. Let's look at their background. Let's look at all the things we would want to look at if somebody was investigating us. Let's look at it and let's see what they're like. Let's see what their experience is. Let's see how long are they actually experts? Are they qualified as expert witnesses? How many times have they testified in court, in a court of law, as an expert witness? How many times? 1 time? 500 times? How many cases have they actually worked in life as ballistics experts, as blood splatter experts, as any kind of expert whatsoever? Let's look. Let's start looking, everybody. If you know these people or you know these names or recognize them, please put it in the comments below. We'll start investigating. Let's look at these people. Let's look at their names, their departments. How many departments have they worked for? What's some of the things that, have they ever been in trouble for anything? Have they ever been convicted? Not charged. Have they ever been convicted? Because, see, that's what they're doing here with Buford. They're going after Buford. They're charging Buford. Buford has never been convicted of nothing, not one thing in his life. And they've charged him with murdering his own wife. Out of all the experts in the United States, how did the TBI and Mr. Davison come up with these particular expert witnesses? They're saying they've got a doctor that opines, this Dr. Ravel or whatever his name is, he opines, he gives his opinion. Let's see what his qualifications are. Let's see how many criminal cases in court that he's testified before. Let's see how old this fella is. This blood splatter expert, this ballistics expert, are these just somebody that knows more about guns than we do, more about bullets than we do? Are these actual gunsmiths certified by Glock, Smith & Wesson, Colt? Are they certified gunsmiths and knows everything about a gun and a firearm? Do they know everything about bullets? Let's look at their qualifications. There's more. I was once qualified as an expert witness in court because I had so many DUI arrests that the attorney wanted to know how I could qualify to testify against his client. And they went on, and I had so many hundreds at the time. By now, I probably had thousands of DUIs and convictions. Wasn't like today where you just go out and charge somebody. And I actually done the field sobriety test. I actually done the breath test or the blood test. I actually done all the things that's required of a police officer to do and to do his job honestly. And then the judge says, no, I think he qualifies. And that's all it took. We want to know these expert witnesses. We want to know if they're any relation. Are they any relation to Mr. Davison or Mr. Roush? Are they any relation? Could they be? I found out in law enforcement over the years that sometimes we have people that works for different departments. They're brothers, cousins, nephews, nieces, uncles, aunts. Are they any relation? Are they any blood relation whatsoever? How did Mr. Roush and Mr. Davison, if he was involved, because this would be on the investigative side of it, which I have a feeling that Mr. Davison served on both sides. I have a feeling that just a feeling, just my opinion, I opine. I'm going to opine that Mr. Davison was probably right there with Mr. Roush on looking at the outcome of this and wanting the outcome to be where those two gentlemen are standing in front of a podium with Mr. Mark Davison's name all over the wall and the podium and anywhere you could see in the background. So get that name recognition. For what? I don't know. But we do need to start looking and investigating these so-called expert witnesses a lot more than we have so far. Guys, this case, I don't know if Mr. Davison and Mr. Roush, maybe they know it by now. They wanted to go down in history. They wanted to go down in history and take Buford Pusser's fame and fortune from him and put it to them. Well, they can. They can have it now. They can have it. They've ruined Buford Pusser reputation. I think they've also, in my opinion, and I opine that they've also ruined their reputation in doing so. With no evidence, with this investigation, and with the way that they tried to word things. And I think they've ruined. I think people's forevermore going to know that these two gentlemen, in my opinion, are not trustworthy. They're just not trustworthy. Let's go on. We've not got nowhere yet. Don't make a conclusion just yet. Mr. Davison continues, many of which I talked about, but no, there's not going to be a statement from somebody saying he's definitely staged the scene. He says that there's going to, let me back up here, and I'm going to read that thing to you one more time. If you're in a hurry, you probably don't want to spend it here, but if you want to know the facts, there's going to be evidence, statements, analysis from different experts from different fields, many of which I talked to about. But no, there's not going to be a statement from somebody saying he definitely staged the scene. He stood up there and told you that Buford Pusser staged that scene. He stood up there and told you that Buford Pusser shot himself in the face. He told you that somebody told him that. Now, he's tried to clear himself. He's wanting to point the finger at somebody else. He's telling you what somebody told him. Sorry, guys, it's early in the morning. No, there's not going to be. Definitely stage scene. There's not going to be a statement from somebody. Nobody's going to give a statement. How can this blood splatter expert, how can this ballistics so-called expert, how can this Dr. M.E. so-called expert, how can any of them for a fact say definitely that the scene was staged? They can't. Then why? That's a reasonable doubt. Then why would a prosecutor, an experienced prosecutor, an experienced police officer, law enforcement officer, stand there on that stage and defame a man like they did Buford Pusser? No, there's not going to be. Definitely not going to be somebody that can stand there. I mean, when you look at these words, when you put these words on the screen and you're sitting there and you just can't understand how words hurt. Words. They've stood up there and spoke it into history. They stood up there and spoke that Buford Pusser murdered his wife. They spoke that into history forevermore through those microphones and through those reporters and TV cameras. But if you look at the words that he says, then he goes right back and says, no, there's not going to be a statement where somebody says definitely that it was staged. He tells you that the gun that they found is consistent with other guns of that caliber and type. Of course, he tells you that it's consistent with a staged scene or whatever his words were. Don't let me put words in his mouth, but there is, and then he continues on, but there is an expert who says it appears to be staged. Now that's Mr. Davis. There is an expert, singular. There is an expert, not S, not plural. There is an expert who says it appeared to be staged. And, A-N, singular. Guys, one person, only one person. We convict a man of killing his wife in public view, public image, the public's perception. These two guys in their suits, ties, and badges just convicted a man forevermore of killing his wife on one man's opinion. On one man. There is an expert that says it appears. He doesn't even say it's his opinion. He says it appears. It appears. Now let's continue on with Mr. Davis here. What you'll find in the case file is all of the statements and interviews of various individuals that both at the time and currently I didn't take that one. That's where he's repeated himself. If you'll go print this out and look at it, you'll get to see how him and Mr. Roush both, it's like that continuous. I had to delete compound times that they said the same, and there's a good example. that both at the time and currently that were talked to by our investigators. Let's read it again. What you'll find in the case file is all the statements and interviews of various individuals that both at the time and currently. See, guys, we don't care about currently. We care about at the time of the crime, at the time, at least within a couple weeks or a month of something happening, not 58 years later. They talked to various individuals, both at the time and currently. Currently, do you know who currently is? Currently is Mr. Oakley Dean Baldwin, who got his story according to Mike Elam. According to Mike Elam, Oakley copied his story. Mike says that there's no way he could have known none of this. Do you not get how he says that? And the other person, of course, is Mike Elam. But Mike Elam says in a video the other day, he said, there's no way Oakley could have gotten this material. There's no way he knows this. He could have known this. He doesn't, because most of it Mike Elam made up. That's why Mike is so, in my opinion, but that's why Mike is so adamant. Mike is so adamant that, let me reframe. Let me change that, guys. Mike says that somebody, I won't mention no names, delete that name. That's in my opinion. I think that's who he's referring to, because he's upset because Mr. Oakley Dean Baldwin already has a book out. He has his next book out that says Pauline Pusser's murder solved. Big old red letters across the front of it, solved. He had that book out within 2 weeks of the TBI and Mr. Davison holding their press conference. 2 weeks he had it out and up for sale. You think he didn't know what was coming down? You think he didn't know that he had convinced these guys to go along with his story? Mike Elam says that there's no way that another fella could have known, and he's just copied what he said over the years. There's no way he could have known it. There's no way he could have known it because Mike had made it up. Mike has made that story up. Talked to by our investigators. Currently, who do you talk to currently? Who do you talk to 58 years later that could have evidence that didn't talk to the FBI, the TBI, the State Highway Patrol, or anybody? Who would you have now? Maybe a couple of book writers? Maybe a couple of people that gives bus tours, or maybe people that has podcasts, YouTube channels? And currently, surely the TBI investigators didn't talk to anybody today that only had hearsay. Surely the TBI is a better investigative agency than that. Guys, you people out there in the TBI, I'm sorry, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about I'm referring right now to the director of the TBI, Mr. David Roush. I'm not even talking about the investigators that's on the stage there that was probably more than likely done what they were told to do. And if they didn't, then that's fine. They can stand up and represent themselves and defend themselves if that's what they want. At this point, what I would do, I would think very seriously about what my comments are before I spoke to anybody about this case. I would think very seriously, because one day you're going to retire and this case is going to stick with you just as it's going to stick with Mr. Davison and Mr. Roush. So if I was told, don't let me put words in nobody's mouth, but if I was told, put this in your report, put that in your report, let's make it look like that, let's make it look like this. I'm not saying that was done, but if it was, I wouldn't be trying to cover for nobody else, because this is going to be right there with the JFK file. Y'all can think what you want. There's a lot of Buford Pusser and family fans out there. Not necessarily Sheila and I, not necessarily us. We want the truth. We're just taking up for a man that has been done wrong. This could be Mr. Davison or Mr. Roush. people don't know Sheila and I. For those of you that don't know us, we can tell you, we would take up for Mr. Roush and Mr. Davison the same. We're taking up for Buford Pusser if somebody done them like that before they did this. Surely they are not referring to Mr. Elam and Baldwin's book writers with a vested interest in covering them from lawsuits for slander and libel. See, when they come out with this press conference, they just cleared, or they think they have. I still think it's up to 12 people on a jury, but they cleared or gave comfort to Mr. Elam and Mr. Baldwin by them confirming that what Mr. Elam and Mr. Baldwin are saying or have been saying, that took the pressure off of them. That relieved them of a lawsuit. Now, Mr. Elam, I heard him the other night. He's already said that in a video that he's the one. He's the man. He's got the case reopened. He's the witness. Well, if he is, shame on TBI, shame on Mr. Davison, that you let a con man, in my opinion, after being a police officer 40 years, I'm a pretty good judge of character in people, especially in police officers, or those that say they were police officers, or those that have a vested interest in. This man's not truthful. It doesn't take a genius. You don't even have to put Mike Elam on a polygraph, talk to him for a few minutes, or listen to him talk, and you will see the truth's not in him, in my opinion. Well, in my opinion, the truth is in him. The truth is in him because he's never let it out. That's my opinion. And again, guys, if I say something so slanderous or so wrong or so, sue me. I don't have a pot to pee in or a window to throw it out. Expect a countersuit. I will countersue because I do have attorney friends, and we will sue. We will make you as famous as we can. When you file your suit, don't worry, you will be famous because we will keep it in court. We will drag it. We will hold depositions. We will investigate. And when I refer to these attorneys on here and retired police officers and active police officers that's contacted Sheila and I over this case or acknowledging or even bragging on us, I don't want to toot our horn, but we do spend a lot of time on it. But I'm not mentioning private investigators. I always thought police officers, and I didn't put a lot of stock in private investigators. Well, I do now because there's some smart private investigators out there. So believe me, we will investigate this. You'll never see an investigation like you'll see once you file a suit. Almost sounds like I'm wanting you to, with a vested interest in covering them from lawsuits and slander. Talked to by our investigators. I'm breaking this down. I'm breaking it down from page to paragraph, from paragraph to sentence, from sentence to words. Words. Talked to by our investigators. That was part of that last statement. Surely, TBI investigators didn't waste their time interviewing Elam and Baldwin. Surely. Just in order to have enough sentences to make enough paragraphs, to make enough pages, to call it a report, to fill some of those 1,000 pages. See, guys, that's how sometimes you do. You fill it. When you can't dazzle them with brilliance, baffle them with bull poop. When you can't dazzle them with brilliance, baffle them. And that's what's going to happen with your 1,000-page report here. You're going to see some statements from back in the day, from TBI, from Highway Patrol, anybody that had any doubt. Somebody started that rumor back in '67 because there's a prosecutor. We've done a video on it. There's a prosecutor from back then that says this is nothing but rumors. There's no truth to this about Buford and his wife, about Buford killing his wife. So that means that somebody back in that day started this rumor already. We know there's always going to be rumors. We know there's always going to be bad things said about people. So there's going to be statements there from back in the day where somebody's alleged that by rumor. But what about nowadays? What about these pages and pages and pages that Oakley and Mike have provided out of their books that was written in the history that they're going to throw into those, in my opinion? Here's what I think. I think that they're going to throw all the stuff, anything that they can. One podcaster asked Mike Elam in an interview, he said, I took the gun to the TBI after we went out and shot it and all this and that. And later on, he asked that guy, he says, can I take it? And he said, yeah, he gave me permission. I told him I'd do whatever he wanted. Well, he's a conspirator to possession a stolen military firearm. There you go, because now I just lost my train of thought down the road that I was going. But let's move on. And then you'll have the opportunity to look at all the evidence as well. What I was going to there is look at all the pages. Yeah, they asked him on that podcast, they said, he said, I took him the gun. And they said, what else do you have? He said, do you have any more information? He said, how much do you want? And laughed real big like it's a joke. This is a man's reputation. This is a man's family name. He laughs like it's a joke. How much do you want? Mike Elam, in my opinion, could blow up an onion sack. I think he could give them information all day long as far as stories and allegations, and it's incredible. And a while ago, guys, you guys in the TBI, I'm not referring to all of you all. I'm referring to your director. And then you'll have the opportunity to look at all the evidence as well. All the evidence, Mr. Davis tells them that when the file comes out, they'll have the opportunity to look at all the evidence. All the evidence, that's great. See, we love that. All the evidence, Mr. Davison says. That means they've recovered the car. That means the car is back in the TBI and Mr. Davison's possession, I guess, because all the evidence means all the evidence. Mr. Davison said all the evidence. All the evidence, even the evidence that the FBI collected back in 1967, you've gotten it now. You've got the car back, so we can look at the blood splatter, the inside, the interior, the trunk. That's great, because Mr. Davison says all. I'm being facetious, guys. I want you to listen. If this was a prosecutor and he had somebody on the stand, and somebody on the stand made a comment like that, Mr. Davison, as an attorney and a prosecutor, would be all over it. So when Mr. Davison uses words like that, that doesn't mean because he looks distinguished. That doesn't mean because he looks professional, because he talks professional, because he knows many, many, many words that I don't even know the definition of. I have to look up in a dictionary. Just because he has all this stuff and knows all this stuff doesn't mean what he tells you is the truth. See, that comes from within. John Gotti wore a suit. John Gotti dressed as well as any man that's ever lived has dressed in $1,000 suits. That didn't mean John Gotti wasn't a bad man. That doesn't mean John Gotti didn't lie, wasn't dishonest, didn't have any character, had lost his integrity. That didn't mean John Gotti wasn't a bad man. Don't always look at how somebody dresses or how they speak. All the evidence, great. That means the car's back. When they say all, they are not telling the truth, guys. The car is not there. The car is long gone, forever. If you're going to keep a case open, as long as a case is open in life, you have to keep the evidence preserved. I don't care if it's what it is. If it's a car, if it's a semi-tractor trailer, you put it in a warehouse, you cover it over with tarp, you fix it so nobody can get to it in case you want to go back and look at something. But if a case is going to be reopened or brought to somebody's attention 58 years later, please make sure that you've got all the evidence. He says you can look at all the evidence. I won't use that word, but he's not telling you the truth. If he says that, and he said it, this is copied right off his statement, you'll be able to see all the evidence. He's not telling you the truth, guys. That's a mistruth. That's a fib. I have a better word for it, but I'm still trying to deliver. It ain't working out good, but I'm trying. What about castings that were sent to the FBI lab back in 1967? Since they are going on rumors and opines, it said there was evidence never returned from the FBI. Is that in the report? Is the full FBI report from 1967, is that included? Hopefully the FBI will compare notes. Is there anything that's been deleted, taken out of this report? Is there anything the TBI or any of their investigators, can they swear under oath? Because it's probably going to come to that before this case is over. I know it will come to that when there's a lawsuit. Is there any of those investigators on that stage with Mr. Roush that took anything out of that report from 1967? Is there any witness statements that were removed because they're exculpatory? There's something in there that says, well, no, Buford didn't do this. Buford wouldn't have done that. And those statements have been removed, even one sentence, even one word. Is there anything at all that's been done dishonestly? We're going to find out. If it ain't us, it'll be somebody else for years to come. This case is going to be looked at. You guys are famous. You're going to be famous from now on. You're going to be more famous from them Buford Pusser, especially when the truth comes out and people sees what a scam this was, in my opinion. In my opinion. And hopefully the FBI will compare. Hopefully these FBI that wasn't invited to join in on this investigation, because the TBI wanted all. They wanted all the glory. They didn't want to share it with ATF or FBI. Hopefully they'll go back and look at their files from 1967, the file that they've got on Pauline. Hopefully they'll look at their files and see if there's anything in these new files that has been taken out or deleted. Even one paragraph, guys, would show enough dishonesty to go right along with what we're showing now. Mr. Davison continues from the scene, and then the current forensic technology applied to that evidence and what that shows. I'm just reading a sentence at a time, but he's saying, from the scene, I think he's saying, and then you'll have the opportunity to look at all the evidence as well from the scene, and then the current forensic technology applied to the evidence and what that shows. What that shows. Forensic technologies applied to that evidence, to the evidence that they've got, not the evidence that they should have, the car that they can actually do tests on. There's nothing for new technology to look at, guys. I can't emphasize that enough. There's nothing. I don't care what kind of technology you got. You can laser beam that car. You're not going to get, or laser beam. You can have a laser beam, but you have no car to laser it with. The evidence is not there, especially all the evidence, Mr. Davison. He said forensic technology applied. Applied to what? What's it applied to? Because the car, most important piece of evidence that exists today would be that car. The car's even more important than the gun. You could find 3 or 4 guns that had bullets in Pauline or Buford. They wouldn't be as important because you'd have to have Buford's fingerprints on them. You'd have to have Buford's blood or saliva or DNA. See, so the car is where the evidence is at. Mr. Davison continues, and so you will be able to You will be able, he says again, I'm sorry, like I said, I took so much of this stuff out that it's unbelievable. I can't believe I missed some, and so you will be able to get a clearer picture as you review the file of what the potential was on that evening. Guys, here's how good of investigators they are, because I've heard them both say it. One of them says that night, and one of them says that evening. They don't even know when Buford Pusser's shooting took place. It was daylight, some daybreak in the morning. He says here on that evening. The other one says on that night. There was nothing happened that night. There was nothing happened in the evening. These guys are settling a case 58 years later. You know, in the autopsy report, I did a video on it, but autopsy report said it's a high-velocity weapon. The pathologist, the ME, says that shot in the back of the head at least once, from back to front trajectory, and it was a high-velocity weapon. They're looking for an M1. That's what reopened their case. That's what they're saying. They're looking for an M1 rifle, a stolen rifle. A M1 is not a high-velocity weapon, according to what I could find out and what people's telling me. It's not classified as high velocity. It's no more powerful than a .357 pistol. But they also found 30-06 empty spent casings there. A 30-06. A 30-06 is a high-velocity weapon. Why are we looking for an M1? Why are we so concentrated on what Mike Elam's trying to sell you guys? Why are we trying to make our statements? Why are we trying to make our report? Why are we trying to make our evidence align with a book that Mike Elam has written? Really? We're to rely on this investigation that doesn't know the ambush took place around daybreak on August the 12th, 1967, and they say it happened at night or in the evening, as poor old Joe Biden would say. Come on, man. You know, that's almost a joke, guys. I hate to be joking about something as serious as this, but that's how, all jokes aside, makes you wonder. Let's go to TBI Director Roush, David Roush. The question is about, somebody had asked him a question. One of the reporters asked him a question. He's repeating the question. The question is about what inspired our team to take a look at this again, and then any information about the weapon itself that came into our knowledge. Now, again, I didn't know I skipped this many. I didn't know I missed them. I didn't try to. I didn't skip them on purpose. Guys, go watch the video and watch these guys' body language and watch these guys. Don't look at them as a suit. Don't look at them with a badge. Don't look at them as a prosecutor title. Don't look at them as a police officer title. Look at them as somebody you're sitting in an interrogation room with, and watch their body language, just like everybody does Mike Elam. Watch their body language, watch their voice, watch their stuttering, watch their... I could be wrong. I'm no genius. I only spent 40 years as a police officer investigating, interrogating, interviewing people. I'm still not... I've never been classified as an expert, never tried to be, but if you were listening to these people and all you could see was their head, just like you're looking at Buford Pusser right now, if you could, on that toenail, if you could just see their head, you couldn't see anything below them, you couldn't see that they were well-dressed, and you're listening, you're asking them a question. This reporter asked this man a question, and he stuttered for 15 minutes. I ain't going to exaggerate, it wasn't 15 minutes, more like 2 or 3, but he stuttered for a long time. Let's just put it like that. Both of them have. Go back and look at Mr. Davison, and all you can see is their head, and you're hearing a person answer you and talk to you like that when you're asked a question. If that doesn't raise suspicions, I don't know what is. You shouldn't be watching an investigative CSI channel because you're not that much into it. You can watch Perry Mason and learn this. You can watch Madlock. You don't have to be a 40-year career police officer. This is things many of you all done figured out on your own. You know that. Any knowledge, information about the weapon itself, and that we were, that came into our knowledge. Mike, this is me, Mike Elam and Oakley Baldwin. That's it in a nutshell. That's what he's trying to say in a nutshell. Nothing to gain here, just for the justice of Pauline. Sure it was. Sure, this is justice. He continues on, and he says, so, you know, as with most cases that have yet to be resolved, our team is always looking back and trying to see if new sets of eyes can determine information that might help in these cases. First of all, you'd have to look at all the stuttering, all the repeats of these words as he's trying to get something to come to his brain so he can shovel it out there for you. But he says that this case just happened to come up and they was just looking at it. Yeah, sure. Now tell us about your new two detectives. I'm talking about Elam and Baldwin. That's the detectives behind this case. I know that as way that Mike's always wanted to be something other than a loss prevention, other than him wanting to claim some type of law enforcement experience, other than having a badge and a uniform that knew the sheriff or sheriff's friend or ever who it was or whatever. We've never seen the first anything that he's ever done in law enforcement. And this is the TBI's two newest detectives. And he finishes here. And we've had a push in the past few years on cold cases, taking a look at all our cases that have been yet to be resolved and trying to determine if there's more investigative efforts that could turn up more investigations. Okay, our comment would be, how about Sebastian Rogers and Summer Wells? Maybe you could have started there with, if you want to go into some other cases, just get on Summer and Sebastian. But that's right, see, Summer and Sebastian wouldn't have got nowhere near the attention that old Buford Pusser can bring to this prosecutor and this TBI director. There's no way you're going to get as much attention out of finding Sebastian Rogers or Summer, or charging those that were in charge of them or supposed to be over them, indicting them. Even if you got an indictment on them, even if you charged them, you're not going to get nowhere near the attention that you're going to get when you charge or make the statement, make the allegation, claim, when you say what you said about Buford Pusser at that news conference. And this was one of those cases that was picked up and looked at. This was just one of those cases. Buford Pusser case was one of those cases that they'd been going over and reviewing all these cases. Mr. Rouse says, he says that they'd been going back and looking at old cases and reviewing them. And we ask, what were some of the other cases that we can verify through witness interviews? What was some of those other cases, Mr. Rouse? What other 50-year-old case do you have? 30-year-old case. What 30-year-old case do you have where we can actually go interview the people, where one of your investigators went and talked to somebody and said, hey, we're opening this cold case and we'd like to go over your statement with you. We don't want to just have something written out. We want evidence. We want to be able to go talk to somebody that can confirm, or even your TBI agents under oath, under penalty of perjury, because you can guarantee we're going to follow through with it. Where's some of these cold cases at? These other cold cases you speak of, sir. Where are they at? Can we get some names? Just tell us the names on the files. What other cold cases was open? What was the date that they were open? When was any evidence checked out of the evidence locker pertaining to these cases, as far as a chain of custody that we can look at where the evidence has been reviewed by another officer over the last 2 years, Where are they? We'd like to see them, that we can verify. And then he continues and he says, and as the investigators read through the file, they noticed some possibilities of, a different direction and more information that was burning that we needed. Yeah, okay. Yeah, sure, we believe that. You had Oakley and you had Elam and he continues, Mr. Roush continues, and so that led to kind of the further look at it, and then just, fortunate that we got a call about the weapon. It's more like a weapon. They can try to connect it with a word like the. The has nothing to do with this gun. This is not the weapon. This is a weapon. This is an M1 stolen rifle from the United States Air Force somewhere after 1958 when they were reissuing the M14, replacing it with the M14. The weapon that's stolen from the military, the Mike Elam and somebody else took out and fired and retrieved the projectiles and casings. You know what, guys? Mike Elam says he still has those casings or some of them, some of the casings and some of the projectiles in his safe. There's your TBI, Mr. Roush. There's your investigative agency. You've got a John Doe out here running around with evidence from one of the most famous cases in the history of criminal investigations. And you've got a John Doe running around with evidence that was shot that would match up in ballistics with either the projectile or the spent casing. That's plumb embarrassing. We can't find two children. We have a man running around with evidence from a stolen gun that should have been charged with the stolen gun. The ATF, the FBI should have been called in. And we want to stand on stage and claim that we solved a 58-year-old case, and the public, the American people, are to believe that. Projectiles and casings that the TBI didn't even ask for back, or ask them why. They didn't even ask them why they went out and fired this gun. What was their excuse for firing this gun? For saving spent casings, for saving projectiles. Well, I'm telling you guys, that's the most, you talk about evidence to take out there and sling over that road where Dennis Hathcock said that he found part of her head. Sling those bullets into that little ditch there, that little hill, cover them up with some dirt. Lord, what news making for down the road? Like it wasn't suspicious how they'd stolen a gun. They had possession of a stolen gun from 65 years ago. TBI didn't even care about them going out and shooting it, and collecting evidence from it. And they didn't even collect it from them. Mike Elam says he has it in his safe. He may have some of it in his safe as souvenirs. I have a feeling if you go out on New Hope Road with a metal detector, guys, any of you that live down there, you may become famous. Go out on New Hope Road for half a mile either direction of where her head was found, and you're going to find some empty casings or bullets. Here's Mr. Roush again. And so that potential homicide weapon was provided to us, and so that too was part of our evidence to further the investigation, and really kind of took the investigation a little in a new direction with new vigor. I may have not got that. We're getting towards the end, guys. I may not have been able to edit this one here. Potential homicide weapon. Mr. Roush calls this a potential homicide weapon. Well, every gun, every firearm, even every butcher knife that's out there is a potential homicide weapon. Guy goes through Walmart, picks up a butcher knife out of appliance section, goes around stabbing people. That butcher knife's a homicide weapon now. So for him to put that there, potential homicide. We recovered the potential homicide weapon. Every weapon's a potential homicide weapon. Any weapon can cause a homicide. Any weapon can kill somebody. The reporter wanted to know about this stolen gun. The real question should have been, did the TBI charge those two men with having the stolen gun? Did the TBI charge? Did Mr. Rouse charge? Why hasn't Mr. Elam and the other fella been criminally charged with possession of a stolen military weapon? And if you think it's evidence, if you think it's the potential homicide weapon, why haven't they been charged with tampering with evidence? The reporter asked, has the weapon matched up to the autopsy findings? That's what he asked. Has the weapon matched up to the autopsy findings? Let's see what Mr. Rouse says. What I'd like to direct on that is to read through the case report. That was his words, guys. This is the director of the TBI, the agency that is claiming that they have solved a 58-year-old case through one person that says that, in his opinion, they may have staged this scene. But was the weapon a match for the autopsy findings? And Mr. Rouse says, what I would have to direct you to do is read through the case file. Why? Why, Mr. Rouse? Your two investigators are on the stage with you. You're there. You're the man. You're the boss. Answer the man's question, yes or no. This is a yes or no question. Guys, this is garbage. Every politician in the state of Tennessee should be astounded by this answer. I mean, this is nothing but a cover-up answer here. It's just the question that doesn't want to be answered. Read the case file. He told the reporter to read the case file. Well, what the blank is this press conference all about? Let's dog the man as much as we can, then let's get off that stage and let them go read a 1,000-page report with Elam's book and Baldwin's book, pages in it. Read the case file. You're right there in front of them, sir. Mr. Rouse, you're right there in front of the reporter that asked you the question. Did the gun match up to the autopsy report? That's a yes or no question, sir. Yes, it did. No, it didn't. No, there was no bullets inside. The bullets passed completely through the head. There was nothing to compare it to. No, this gun was in the trunk of a car at a car dealership locked away. Read the case file. It's a yes or no question. See, in the case file, you might be able to sneak something by. But if you're standing there looking at a man head on, asking him face to face a question, it's not as easy for them to get away from it. In the case file, they can mix a little bit of Elam's book, Elam's so-called research in with it, which is hearsay, which is nothing. Unbelievable. Tennessee, you should be embarrassed. And Governor, we ask you once again to let this man go. I called it fire. Some people thought that was harsh. I've been fired. I've been fired for doing the right thing. Surely somebody should be fired for doing the wrong thing. But call it what you want. Relieve the duties, replaced, find you a better person. You got to do something. You can't keep this man. And let's get to the last here. He says, Mr. Rouse says, to get more specific, is there with the weapon, the type of weapon, and then what the autopsy findings have. To get more specific in there, with the weapon, the type of weapon, and then what the autopsy findings have. With the weapon, type of weapon, autopsy findings. Guys, he said read the report and then you can look and see more about what type of weapon it was and what caliber weapon and how the weapon matched up as far as being the type of caliber or whatever. He's talking in circles. He's talking garbage. I'm sorry. That's my opinion. That's in my opinion. I have an opinion. I allege. I speculate. I tell you what, this case is This is the most unbelievable and sad. I know it's an hour and 14 minutes. I don't care, because I know that the only people that watches these videos is people that's really, really into this case and really wants the truth, and they want to know. And guys, if I have said anything that's incorrect or not true, but please correct me. I want the truth. Help me and Sheila both find the truth. Sheila don't like the more. Sheila helps me research this. Sheila's a great investigator. She just doesn't like controversy, and I don't neither. I'm struggling, because how can you be a Christian and do this right here? But I'm trying not to use bad language. I'm trying not to say something that's not the truth. I don't know if we're just supposed to sit around and read the Bible. I guess that's what we're supposed to do. I'm sure that would be great, but these two guys here is dishonest, guys, in my opinion. These two guys, I don't know what we can do about they're not even in my state, or I would be. If this was my state, I'd be raising Cain. But this is Tennessee. But Mr. Davison, nothing can be done. He's an elected official. I guess unless they got a petition or something up. I think they should get more petitions up to not only fire Mr. Roush, but to have Mr. Davison kicked out of office. I think there should be a petition to have Mr. Elam, and ever who the other fellow was, charged by the ATF. Looks like somebody would contact Cash Patel or ever who's in charge of the ATF and let them look into this. Somebody had possession of a stolen military rifle for 67 years. And somebody had it, and Mr. Elam covered it up until the guy gave him permission. Guys, there's more to this case. There's more to this case. There's more people should be charged with criminal offenses in this case. And maybe if a good investigator or a good agency gets in there that's reputable anymore, they can go interview these detectives. They can go interview Mr. Roush and Mr. Davison. They might be able to catch them in some untruths. And if they're untruths under oath or to the FBI or a federal agency, there may be charges there. I would ask everybody to contact Cash Patel and ask him to send a couple of agents to interview these guys and see what they say, and see if they won't be so easy to. It won't be like talking to a news reporter. These guys are experienced. These guys will pick up on different things. They sure didn't have no problem being like Mr. Elam and dogging Mr. Pusser or Pusser family. And Mike Elam needs to be charged with possession of a stolen weapon, with shooting a stolen weapon, with tampering with possible evidence. Guys, it'd be like stealing a Jeep from the military and going out here and selling somebody. Yeah, it's stolen. This Jeep's stolen. My dad stole it. My uncle stole it. Somebody stole it, and my dad got it from them. You want to go for a ride? Heck yeah, Mike Elam would say, let me drive. I want to drive it. Because if you're going to shoot something, it'd be like driving. And if you're driving a stolen Jeep, you're an accomplice. There's no difference. In fact, the firearm is even worse. We know what the potential they have are. Thanks for joining me. Appreciate y'all. If you haven't liked, please like, subscribe, and share. And catch you later. This video will only be on Fred McCoy 40. So some of you, if you're not subscribed to Fred McCoy 40, you may be missing some videos, because this will be where some of my other videos come out that Sheila, I ain't gonna say she disagrees with, but and she don't even say nothing. I just respect Sheila. I know what Sheila likes on her channel or doesn't. I know what she doesn't like. She doesn't like a lot of controversy, even though it sounds like it when I'm on them other tapes, but that's nothing like the ones that I make on my channel. Catch you later, guys. Thank you.